Hello, everyone, and welcome to APQC's webinar, Adapting KM to Digital, Getting to Know Our 2020 KM Conference Speakers. This webinar will preview some of the sessions that will be at APQC's 2020 Knowledge Management Conference in our Adapt KM to the Digital Enterprise track. Before we get started, just a few things to keep in mind. You can tweet about today's webinar using the hashtag KMAPQC. All lines are in listen-only mode, but if you have questions, you can enter those at any time in the Q&A window to the right of your screen, or you can use the raise your hand feature and we'll get to you live. We'll respond to those later in the call. We only have about 30 minutes for this session, but we will try to get to some of the audience questions that have come through. And now, I'm going to pass this over to Lauren Trees to start us off.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I think we all know that digital has taken center stage over the last 3 years, and nothing, to me, illustrates this more in our research than this data point that I have on the slide. This is from our latest KM Priorities Survey, and out of 400 KM professionals who participated in that survey, 2/3 said that their organization was undergoing some form of digital transformation. And obviously, digital transformation takes many forms, everything from AI to the Internet of Things to automating processes. But at least some of the new technology that's coming in has a direct impact on knowledge management. So when we look more closely at the new and upgraded technology that KM programs are bringing in, the broadest trend is really the movement towards integrated digital platforms like Microsoft Office 365, Google G Suite, and a whole host of others. And those platforms have huge implications for knowledge sharing processes, how people talk to one another and collaborate, as well as where stuff gets stored and how people find it. And speaking of finding, more than 1/4 of organizations are upgrading their search technology, and machine learning in particular is opening up a lot of new possibilities there. And then a similar percentage upgrading their data and learning management tools. And then at the end here, we have 18% of early adopters who are really digging into the capabilities of AI and cognitive systems. And then on the same survey, we also asked both about the technologies, which are listed here in light blue, and some non-technology forces, which are listed in dark blue, that are having the biggest impact on KM inside people's organizations. And we see a lot of the same themes that we saw on the last slide, such as the move to the cloud and the move towards AI. But there are a few additional digital trends that I wanted to point out here. One is the growing focus on mobile and robotic process automation, and also auto classification tools that automatically assign metadata to content as sort of a subfield within digital. And then you also see some of what I think of as digital adjacent trends here, whether that's agile project management, design thinking, which is used to understand needs within a lot of technology projects, and also this growing emphasis on predictive analytics. So there are a lot of different things going on here. Technology trends are multifold and moving quickly, which is why I'm so pleased to have 2 great KM leaders on the line today to tell you how their organizations are approaching digital KM. So first we have Gopal, who is the Senior Manager for Delivery Excellence at Cognizant Technology Solutions. And we also have Lisa Weber, who is a KM leader at Mercer. And both Gopal and Lisa will be speaking as part of our Adapt KM to the Digital Enterprise session track at APQC's 2020 KM Conference. So welcome, Gopal and Lisa.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
So both of you are going to be talking about digital projects at the conference. And so for my first question, I wanted to ask about the business need that really inspired you to move in this direction, to do some new and innovative things around digital, And then also how you got buy-in to start experimenting and piloting some of these new tools. Because I know that's a question that I get a lot from people who haven't quite jumped into some of the advanced digital capabilities yet. So,
Gopal, you want to start?
Want to give us a start? Yeah.
Okay.
And then Gopal, you can jump in.
Sure. Well, pretty much everything you mentioned, Lauren, in the slide prior about agile, machine learning, AI, robotics, automation, predictive analytics, like we are dabbling in that space. Do we have it nailed? Absolutely not, but we're sort of in the experimental phase and very much use the agile framework and thinking so we can move forward without getting bogged down by having everything perfect. Let's just keep moving. The business reason, like what triggered a lot of our initiatives in this area, first and foremost, is content findability. So Mercer is 25,000 employees servicing 140 countries. We're all over the world. We're an HR consulting firm. And we have acquired something like 20 companies in the last 7 years. So as things evolve in the business, we've had to make sure we stay on the forefront of making sure our colleagues can find the content. So we have a lot of disconnected content management systems, depending on if it's an internal only intranet platform, external marketing.com platform. We have client portals where you pay a membership. They all run on different content management systems and the content has to be managed separately. So a big trigger for us was, couldn't we find a smarter way of doing this as a whole global company? So we have the Mercer Brain Project, an alpha, an MVP product that basically streamlines the whole process and integrates AI and machine learning through more automated ways. So experiment, but so far so good. And we've been lucky. The project was sponsored and initiated by the Chief Digital Officer. So we, from the get-go, had that senior sponsorship and pushed us to really say, you guys can do this, go experiment.
Great. And Gopal, what about you?
Okay. So I come from Cognizant, which is an IT services consulting company with 300,000 employees across 85 countries. So, so we have been doing digital transformation for our clients, helping customers embrace digital for their business success. So then our executive leadership thought, why don't we do it for ourselves for internal systems and applications? That was the first trigger. Then there's a complete, projects on transforming all the internal systems to digital, embracing digital. And that's when, the KM team, our team went and told the leadership, we also want to move the KM needle to digital, go digital. And we kept three things on the table. One, we wanted to leverage all the, opportunities that the digital technologies provided to KM, like what you mentioned in the first slide, the Office 365 search, AI and so on, number one. Number two, we wanted to significantly enhance the user experience and engagement with KM platform. That's second thing. Third thing, unless we go digital, we will not be able to cater to the 300,000 employees across these countries. It's absolutely impossible to scale up unless we go digital. And fourth, we wanted to ensure that, we provide, like Lisa mentioned, quality content to the users. And, content can be moved easily only if it's digital. So these were the main value propositions we gave leadership. And of course, they didn't give the full budget initially. So we did a pilot with 2 business units and with the sales team predominantly to show them the impact of it. So we put in place, a robust metrics in place so that it shows, continuous value and then like impact of what we're doing. So that's how we could convince the leadership and get the budget.
Excellent. So I want to move on to our second question. I think some of you have mentioned a few of the technologies that you're using, but to talk a little bit more about that maybe, and then say where you've seen the most success, what's impressed you, what has worked really well for you, at least so far in some of the pilots and experiments that you're doing. So Gopal, why don't you start, and then Lisa will go to you.
Yeah, sure. As Lisa mentioned, I think in the first slide you had underlined some of the technologies and also the methodologies that have been in vogue in many organizations. I would say I would pick all of them, for Cognizant. But of course, we are at different stages of maturity in employing these, technologies, methodologies. Predominantly, our KM systems are on Microsoft Stack, like Office 365, SharePoint Online, Cloud, Yammer, Microsoft Teams, and so on. So predominantly on Microsoft Stack. But our team, the IT team, has done a lot of custom development using .NET coding. So we have a lot of our innovative applications and apps working on top of Microsoft Stack. So that way, for example, if you look at our search engine, while the basic search engine is SharePoint, we have done a lot of coding and optimization on top of it. We built semantic logic on top of it, natural language processing on top of it, built chatbot on top of it. So we've done a lot of value addition on top of, based on the needs of Cognizant teams. So that's how we've done. Of course, we also have the blogs on WordPress, the wiki on Confluence, Atlassian Confluence, and so on. We do have other. We have Skype for the chat, internal chat, and so on. But predominantly these are things. And over the period, we have also invested in artificial intelligence, machine learning, because once you have all your 300,000 users on a single AM platform, the advantage is that you can monitor the usage, look at the behavior, look at the needs, and so on. You have a lot of data now, which you can put through the AM algorithms and then do a lot of discovery. So that's how we have evolved. And like you showed, we have the automation being done. A couple of our applications are on mobile. We're also doing auto tagging and auto classification of content. When you upload content, you can auto tag content. We have predictive analytics is something we're doing currently, where we are able to recommend risks for projects and so on, alerts and so on. So I think pretty much, we have everything in place, and there are different stages of maturity, I would say.
Excellent. So Lisa, what about you? What I know you spoke a little bit about the technology that you're using, but say a little bit more and what you have found most successful.
Okay, so in our day-to-day environment, we're on Microsoft Stack as well, but also have a best-in-breed philosophy. So not limited to, but can be experimental with other vendors. So we are in the thick of the Office 365 migration, and that's driven by our parent company. So it's not just our company, but it's our sibling company. So it's a very cadenced rollout. But specifically for Mercer Brain, which is our experimental project, it's actually been homegrown, and it's because we couldn't find the needs that we needed in the marketplace. And the digital team that is the architects behind this have partnered with a vendor, which we perfectly do well in our environment to experiment and innovate. So we're using AWS for hosting, MongoDB for data storage, Elasticsearch as an experiment for search, Pendo for web analytics. And then there's some proprietary machine learning that the vendor has, so for auto tagging, so that's proprietary to them. And we glue it all together through APIs. So we're trying to be very fluid about how all these parts can come together seamlessly. And we've taken a more user-centric approach. So like a very simple example is in our experiment with the brain, it looks like Instagram. You can have your metrics, like how many hits did you get? How many downloads did you get? It's so simple for a content owner to digest the information they need. Don't need tons of reporting and spreadsheets and analyze. It's all just on the screen, simple, clean, in an interface that a content owner would be used to seeing.
No, that's really interesting. And I think both of you are saying that some of the success is not the individual capabilities, but how you're bringing them together and presenting them to the user.
Yeah, in fact, Lauren, if I may just make a point here, just to add to Lisa's point, I think the point about being able to integrate with organization systems is very, very important. See, KM platform should never be in isolation. It should always handshake with other sales, delivery systems, so that we can provide one single view to the user and also leverage the data.
Absolutely. We talk about knowledge management in the flow of work, and that infrastructure piece is so important to that. So we talked a little bit about the success. I wanted to move us to find out any aha moments or lessons learned or just unexpected detours that have happened on these projects that have surprised you or that you feel like could be useful for others to be aware of as they start navigating this crazy sea of digital. So Lisa, do you want to get started, and then we'll switch over to Gopal? Yeah.
Yep. So stating the obvious, if you're going to do some kind of digital transformation, you need a very strong sponsor who has funding, or else it's going to be really hard to push it along on your own through a volunteer army. So first and foremost, make sure you have, and I would say in my lesson learned, 2 sponsors, a digital sponsor, someone from the more technical side that's going to help you plow the way for the technology, but also a business sponsor. How does this fit in the flow of the business as part of business transformation? So it's digital transformation with business transformation. Secondly, I would say involve people early, get them curious, get them interested, particularly if they have a hand in what the change is going to result in. And then third, people are curious. The day-to-day colleagues we work with want to see this happen. And if they are interested, have them help shape the role, whether that's through a champion role or giving input, feedback, testing, whatever it takes. Because this isn't just KM, this is everybody. So I would say take those opportunities where you see them.
Excellent. Gova, what are your lessons learned then, or your learnings and aha moments?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lisa. Like, one is we should always create a win-win partnership with other organization functions, corporate functions, and so on. For example, 2 examples. One is with Academy, which predominantly handles all the learning systems, e-learning modules and videos and so on. So what we did is that we told them, you just give us an API feed of your metadata, and we will bring more traffic to you. We'll make more users from KM also navigate and learn your videos and take up your course and so on. So they were really happy that they're getting more hits and they can show more value to their leadership. It's a win-win partnership. Similarly, with the sales systems also, we told them that unless we know what is the opportunity or deal that the person is working, we can't really auto-recommend content and samples to these sales guys. No, so we wanted a handshake with the sales system as well, and now that we have built in that as well. So always, we wanted to create a win-win partnership with these systems, and we get data and we also give them more traffic and more insights, success. And second thing what we did is that what we also learned is that once we are 3 years down the line, we got a lot of data on the KM usage platform users. So one thing we found is that 80% of the users came from 20% of the population. That was a big insight for us. We could understand who really the KM users are. So these 20% guys were the guys who are actually contributing 80% content and also using 80%. So now we had to devise a strategy for this 20% separately and the 80% was not coming frequently separately. So that was a big aha moment for us.
Excellent. Well, it's interesting. Both of you, I think, mentioned partnerships and stakeholder management and sponsorship. Do either of you have any tips that you would share for going to a partner or a sponsor, to kind of communicate some of the value of this? Any general advice to others? Because I know that's an area where people really struggle. I'll let either of you jump in.
Yeah, Lisa, please.
Oh, I would just say, again, common sense. If you can tie it to financials, people will listen. And so is it time saving, cost saving, reducing duplication that has ultimately leads to a price tag and saving, or it could be the softer quantifications of like colleague satisfaction. Like there's a hungry need for this. We need to address it as part of our employee engagement to make our colleagues work more productively and happily and efficiently. So I think the more you can quantify, the better, but it's really hard to do because you're almost forecasting what you don't know. So you're making some predictions and assumptions. But I think if you can tie it to business transformation with cost savings, all the better.
Right. Yeah. So let me take a start. So two points, Lauren. One is we did a design thinking exercise with the sales team, with one of the business unit sales team. And we found that, a typical sales guy has to go to 10 different platforms to get information for responding to the particular RFP of the customer, proposal customer. That's one thing. Second thing, when we analyzed, let's say 100 proposals submitted in the past, 60% of the content is repeat content in the proposal. Only 40% is differentiated or customized to the particular solution. So we found opportunity for, reuse of the same content. So these two were very great value propositions to the leadership to actually sponsor this project. Number two, with regard to stakeholder relationship management, what we did is that whenever we had an executive leadership meeting for KM, we brought in other stakeholders to come and have a 5-minute slot and speak about, what's the kind of value we provide them. So they were sort of, ambassadors for us. And we also, sort of did it for them. So that way, we create more a positive word around the KM and its value that gives to the organization.
Well, I think what both of you are sharing is a great segue into our fourth question, and you've already answered part of it really. But if you can say a little bit more about how you've shown value or ROI from these projects, or even how you're forecasting that. So Gopal, do you want to start, and then Lisa will pick up with you?
Yes. If you look at the total ROI proposition of KM, I would see it as 3 parts. Normally, the KM team is asked, the first question is, is your KM platform being used at all? So you have spent so much of dollars and effort in building this whole digital KM platform, all these features, is it being used? Is the first question. So the basic reach and frequency metrics, user penetration, how many users are coming in, the visits, downloads, hits, and all those things, how much percentage of people in the organization is covered, that's the penetration. Number 2, is quality content coming in, asset growth or content growth is second, and third is content reuse, how much percent is getting reused. So the basic numbers. So this will basically set the stage for me. Second question is, are the users happy? Now for that, we do a net promoter score feedback and testimonials from these users, and we also get the senior leadership talk about it in the important meetings and so on. We get testimonials from customers also. When you showcase to customers as part of visits, they give testimonials. So these actually are proof for telling that people are happy about the KM platform. And last is hard metrics on business impact. We are able to show real dollar savings sort of knowledge management. Like for example, they use these accelerators, they save so much of productivity and so on. So we have an ROI dashboard that clearly tells them, it's all transparent, so they can see the impact that's coming through the exit. So this is a way we actually show ROI.
And I'd say very similar in the Mercer side. All those elements of content reuse, colleague satisfaction, duplication, like less duplication, so you can do cost savings. In our early days when we had to quantify, so sort of going into the CapEx process and how are you going to get funding, what are we going to need year over year kind of thing, we had to do some assumptions. And so we did a mini experiment where one of our knowledge coordinators, a few of our knowledge coordinators, take the same process in current state, try it in the experimental state, and went from like 30 minutes down to less than a minute. And that was a no-brainer. So all that time. And so what it does is, from my perspective, as a productivity tool, it alleviates a lot of the grunt work, the day-to-day grind of in the systems, the back end, managing it, maintaining it, fueling it. Automate that process so then your staff is freed up to do higher level, higher value, consultative work like the design thinking workshops. So we can shift the focus of our time into something more valuable that the business needs. So that's been a big selling point for us in the ROI.
No, that's fantastic. I think you guys both have great insights on that, and measurement is such a tricky topic for so many people. So the final question I wanted to pose to you guys is what's next on this journey? Where are you headed, and where do you think your digital pilots are going, and what's going to scale, and where are you going to go next? So Lisa, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So I would say on the sort of technology platform side, we're experimenting more with APIs, digital assistants, bots, things like that. So just keep going, try it out, experiment, be agile, do it in chunks. Let's get feedback, keep improving. And then I would say kind of what Gopal said on the sort of the business side, the human side, which is really the place to start, is more design thinking. So we're getting trained up in design thinking. We do it already, but we're going to formalize it to really get to the heart of the problem with logical solution designing, experimenting, understanding and empathizing with busy colleagues who have a job to do, and we need to make it easy for them. So I'd say those are the two things: technology, experimentation, and more in design thinking.
So from my side, Lauren, from a technology point of view, we're trying to introduce more intelligent chatbots, digital assistants, virtual assistant kind of thing where people can interact and then try out themselves. That's something we're trying to do. Second, we're also trying to see whether we can use blockchain for IP management, intellectual property management. We have a lot of internal IP within Cognizant. We're seeing whether we can sort of employ blockchain for easy usage and tracking of benefits and so on. That's something we're trying to do. That's from more like a technology point of view. But from a philosophy point of view, we are trying to adopt the just-in-time philosophy, like Thomas Davenport wrote many years back in an article. We are seeing, specifically looking at delivery as a whole life cycle. See, today, an architect or developer is developing in a system. Can we provide just-in-time knowledge to the contextual to the work he is doing or she is doing? That's the thing that we have tried actually in the last year, and we want to expand more on it and try to leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning into that. That's the area we're trying to get on.
So nothing too ambitious, right, Gopal?
Laura, in fact, for the earlier point, I just want to add one point. The ROI that you wanted to, right? Our executive leadership told you one thing, Lauren, to us, for the KM team. At the end of the year, if two teams can get onto the stage, in the annual award stage, and say, we won this deal because of KM, then you are done. That's the, you know what? In 2019, we had 22 such teams coming and sharing success stories. So that really showed the value that KM brings to the organization, and we are done.
Fantastic. Well, that concludes my questions. I think we have a couple of audience questions.
We do. And Paul, I have you on the line, and I don't want to mess up your question, so I'm going to unmute your line if you'd like to ask it live.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also in knowledge management. I'm from ASML, a lithography company. We are also on the Microsoft stack, and I've been following the developments Microsoft is doing, and they're now launching Project Cortex to do machine learning for knowledge management, kind of like IBM Watson. And they're also launching Project Turing for natural language search and semantic understanding. Are you guys looking into these developments and maybe part of private preview programs, etc.?
Okay, so it's very nice to know that you are on the cutting edge of these technologies, and we are also similarly on Cortex, looking at leveraging knowledge graph from Microsoft Stack. Second, we are looking at to expand our chatbot framework using Microsoft Stack. I would, and of course NLP, the natural language processing, to enhance our search capabilities. So these three definitely we are investing more this year.
Okay, and a follow-up question is on security. And now that we're trying to put all sorts of knowledge into one system, I'm getting hammered with how secure all this is, who needs access. People don't know that stuff is not there if they don't have access, export control issues, etc. How big is that of a topic in your companies?
Lisa, you want to go?
Yeah, very. It's critical because you need to make sure your content hits the right audience with the right permission level. So that was part of our spec design that we worked on with the vendor, and I believe we even had to go through legal and compliance because you don't want to put yourself at risk of any misused content. So yes, it has to be part of the discussion early on, so you are ensured confidently that the content is being delivered to the right places with the right level of permission.
Yeah, because what I'm noticing in my company is that people are sort of getting afraid of posting stuff because they're afraid to talk about company secret stuff.
Right. So my view would be that we never attempted to put all the content into the KM platform. We follow a decentralized model. For example, there's a team which curates thought leadership and white paper. So we allow them to maintain their own portal and maintain access, define the access control there. Our KM platform will go and pull content and show it. At the same time, when somebody sends access, it will raise this thing alert that you don't have access to content. So that way, a decentralized model is what I would suggest personally, so that the respective teams define what is access and what is what is restricted and what is not restricted.
Okay, thanks.
And I would just say one other thing, Lauren, if there's time. The model that we've experimented is the content gets served up to the destination it needs to appear on. So it's a pass-through. It's a gateway to get to where the destination, where the employee would normally be finding it. So that's where we're at the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad we got to address some questions. I think we are about at time. So I wanted to thank Gopal and Lisa both so much for sharing your insights And remind everybody, if they want to hear more from Gopal and Lisa, to please join us for the Adapt KM to the Digital Enterprise track at APQC's KM 2020 conference, April 27th through May 1st in Houston. All right, bye everyone. Thank you again.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Have a good day. Yeah, thank you.